welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is Captain Henry and the Graveyard of Time, issue 3 by Dark Horse. Now there is fighting, shooting, death, ghosts, and weird shit in this one, so if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's the team. So, when we left off Henry and the Professor in issue 2, when we left off in issue 2, we saw a glimpse of the potential bad guy of the story, called the Time King. And you can see him right over there on the cover. So yeah, but we got the back of him, and he ordered his minions to go grab Captain Henry and the Professor and bring them to him. And that's where that issue ended. Yeah, that's where it ended there. So we started this issue with, again, we're back in the manor. And it looks like almost that Mr. Withers, for a minute there, he futzes with the machine. And seems like he almost manages to get Henry back, kind of. I mean, kind of, some current goes, and he's like, oh, I think I've nearly got it. And then his sister, Miss Withers, also says, yeah, I can feel him, and Sir Edward Grey's like, whoa, what do you feel? And then back in the Graveyard of Time, we go to Henry, and he's suddenly standing there. He's like, oh, I feel something. It was him. So it looks like however he futzed with the machine, Mr. Withers was able for a second almost to get a connection to Henry. However the fuck that works, to be fair, in the story. But yeah, unfortunately it went away. So we go back to Captain Henry. He's like, oh no, never mind, it's gone, because the Professor looks at him very concerned. That's the Professor. So they pass that moment, and as you can see here on the cover, the Professor made Henry a similar contraption to his. He got that backpack with the battery, but instead of a rifle of sorts, Henry has a saber that's connected to this glove over here. And he's able to do the same thing the Professor is. He shoots at the enemies, and the ones like that are the clock people, or the clock creatures, with this bolt of electricity, I think it's electrical energy. So yeah, now he has that, and he tests it out, and works very powerfully. And Henry is shocked at how much power this little backpack has. But then the Professor tells him, a saber is only good as its user. I don't know what that would have to do with the power of the backpack battery. But anyway, then after he sets it up, he's like, okay, let's go. And Henry's like, go where, Professor? And he said, well, we must continue to find a way out of here. We must keep going in this graveyard. And so they keep walking through the Graveyard of Time. We see some of the clock creatures here and there spying on them, like looking what they're doing. And Henry feels them looking, and he tells the Professor, and the Professor's like, where? And he's turning around all. Henry here, of course, is the expert on this, as he's been a soldier for so long. And then they reach some more time machines. As the Professor says, they need to find out what's draining his time machine, Ophelia, from its power. And Captain Henry's like, Professor, you know the Ophelia is just a machine. And the Professor's like, yes, I know. It's an important machine to me. Now they come across, we see more time travelers, more contraptions. And then suddenly the Professor sees something, and he's like, oh no. Some of the transitions in this comic are not too great because it's hard to understand if you move the scene or what. Because at first it looked like the professor saw himself. I'll explain. It's like a panel. You see on one side Henry is with the professor, and then on the other side of the panel, but they're not divided. And the professor goes like, "Oh no, it can't be." It's his face, and on the other side it's Henry saying, "Wait, where are you going?" And the professor's running. So it's a little bit confusing like that. Now, if there was that divide, it would have been like, "Oh, okay, that's the next thing." Yeah, that's kind of. So what the professor sees is this big contraption, this big time machine that looks like almost like a merry-go-round, a little bit. The design of it. Because it's got this massive sphere in the center, and then around it, like in a merry-go-round, like you got chairs. And the professor sees his order of the ether. All the other 6 members are there. And of course, Henry's like confused, like what? And the professor says, "Oh, don't be obtuse." But this angers Captain Henry. He's like, don't speak to me like that. So yeah, his order of the ether, it looks like after he was sent with the time machine with Ophelia, they went out to look for him. They built another time machine and all of them together left. And that was the end of the order, I would say. Just a stupid idea. At least you gotta have someone left behind to at least say what happened to the order, or to continue the order. I mean, those are the smartest idea. But yeah, they ended up exactly where the professor did. But it looks like they arrived there way before him, even though they built the time machine after he left. So yeah, the professor is obviously devastated by this. These were his friends, his order members. But his brethren. But there's nothing left to do. Captain Henry's like, yeah, it's very sad. It's going to be very sad for us as well if we don't find a way out of here. And the professor agrees, yes, we'll leave mourning for another time. And so they keep going. And as they're going, when we go back to this place with the Time King, and he's I think he's again on a glass screen. I'm not sure what kind of technology the machinery in this realm or whatever it is supposed to be, but he sees them on the screen, and he feels that, I think he is referring to Henry, that he has a very powerful soul, and it's been a long time since he's eaten, and he's hungry, and he wants his soul. So perhaps that's how the time travelers get there. The Time King somehow just, well, I guess sucks them in, or forces them to appear, or to basically travel to his domain, and then he takes their souls, and that's it. They're stuck there. How does he explain it? Of course, again, it's still unclear how the fuck Henry got there, since he did not use a time machine. What he was in was a completely different thing. That's what kills me here. It's like, how did he get there? He didn't use a time machine, that's for sure. It's not explained yet, but yeah, the Time King sucks them in there. How Henry ended up there is a whole different question. Since the Time King, I take it, targets only time machines. I don't know, maybe in the last issue it will be explained, at least somewhat. But anyway, yes, he sees them, and he's like, I'll finally have them, but before that, he sends, the 2 of his minions, to them, but, the professor and Captain Henry destroy them. Yes, they keep walking, there's a fog, but then it clears, and that's when Henry and the professor see the castle. The Time King's castle, and then, what does Henry say? basically say the words to the extent of, oh, there was a castle in hell, I guess, we found it. Yeah, a castle of the unholy, this is it. It's one hell of a castle, it's got some construction to it. And then here we have, we see them climbing on one of the cables that's in the castle. And then the king said, they are approaching, my hunger grows, it pains me. And then, today I shall feast, blah, blah. And then he tells them to lower the charges. So as it sounds, some charges lowers, and it looks like the king, gives himself a charge, basically. And then there's a lot of light coming from the castle that they see, Henry and the professor. And Henry even says how he feels like a sheep led to the slaughter. Sorry, a lamb. So they reach the door, and then they are attacked by more clock creatures. They shoot them off, and look out, more appear. And Captain Henry saves the professor. Then they zap more of these creatures, and he's like, okay, we gotta retreat, let's go. And they run into the doorway, but a trap door opens, and they fall into the darkness. And then there are different kinds of creatures. These don't look like clock monsters. These look more like bugs or demons. And then they shoot them off. Then they, run out on them. And then they reach some entrance. They destroy the 2 guards. And then there is this big contraption where it's like a sphere, a giant power sphere around it, and you see all the ghosts. And the professor is like, these are probably the ghosts of all the time travelers. And maybe they are fueling something. And Henry said, well, blast it, and then he destroys that thing. And then the last panel is, I've been hungry for so long, waiting for you. You will join the heart of the Time King. And that's it. To be concluded in issue 4. Yeah, I should have figured it'd probably be 4 issues. A lot of the new stuff, especially the Hellboy ones, from the world of Hellboy, seem to be only 4 issues, really. Oops, sorry. Okay. So, there's the cover. This one, too, is by Mr. Zeke. You can see I got the Time King, and those are the creatures that attack them as they run into the castle. You see that they don't look like clock creatures. They're different. And that's Henry's weapon. That's the professor. And you can see there the Time King, for some reason, only has 4 fingers. Yeah, his face kind of reminds me of Darkseid from DC. There we go. Darkseid, am I thinking of the correct one? The one that's in that Hell Planet. So yeah, the colors are good on the cover. They do attract attention. Now there's some of the inner art. There's Sir Edward Grey and Mr. Withers. There's Mrs. Withers. You see he's futzing with the machine. And something did happen. And as the professor tells Henry, he's gotten quite good at scavenging for materials to repair things and to, I guess not add battery, but build a weapon. There you go. Yeah, he kind of feels like he's almost been drawn back, but then it passes. You see, and then he tries out his weapon, destroys something, and look at that zap. And he's like, wow. And that's it. There they are. I need to... Some of the coloring's less good here. Again. In issue 2, it felt like it was a bit better. But yeah, that's Mr. Zeke's art. Okay, now for the story. So it continues. Fortunately, not many answers yet to what the hell's going on here. Okay, there are some answers, to be fair. The Time King is the one that draws all the time travelers, and then it looks like he uses them as a power source. A power source to what exactly, besides sustaining his own life, is unclear yet. And considering this is only 4 issues, I do have to wonder if it will even be cleared up. And what will really happen in the last issue with Captain Henry and also with the Professor. Because if they manage to escape, does that mean that only they will escape? Or, again, it's not even explained. Is this some kind of realm? Is this another place beyond the Pale? Is this maybe literally an alien planet that they're on or something? There's no real indication on what exactly this whole thing is. Is it a planet? Is it what? We don't really get much of an answer for that, which is a bummer. As it would have been nice to get more of a orientation on what this is. But still, it's so far a really cool adventure. I mean, poor Henry thought he was going to help with ghosts and ended up even in a worse place. But how did he end up there? I still wish we knew, because all there was is electricity. Is that how he gets in? The speed of light? Who knows? I don't know if there'll even be an answer in the end of this in issue 4, which I have no idea when I will receive, so it might be a while until I find out. But regardless, I am really enjoying this read. It does have the Radio Spaceman vibes. It's sort of. But enjoyable. The art is... It's a memorable art style. I can't say it's not. Is it the most good-looking one? Not really. No. I mean, it's decent. I can't say it's not. There's definitely no Miss Truesdale in the Fall of Hyperborea art. That was who. But yeah, I wish either Mike Mignola drew the art for this or someone else. You know who I would have loved to see do the art for this book? I don't think he does comic art anymore, but I keep forgetting his name. The one who drew the art in Batman Nosferatu. That I would love to see his art style for this story. That would have been fucking cool. Or Liam Sharp, maybe. But yeah, well, I mean, it works with the story, but again, I wish there was somehow nicer art. But it is what it is. I mean, it's not like I would be able to draw anything better for a comic. But yeah. Well, that's it. We shall see then what happens in the last issue. I hope we at least get an answer to who the Time King is and what the hell's going on. I hope the Professor and Henry can return to their own times. Timelines or whatever. Again, it's hard to understand. Are they in some planet somewhere? Are they in the realm of the dead? Who knows? Alright, folks, so that is it. Remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye! Oh, sorry. Now let me know what you thought of the comic. Bye!